Thank you for joining us today on the first look for Mom 13 Genesis. Really excited to show you guys this new version of Mom. This was released earlier this week on March 3rd. Today I'm gonna be presenting along with James Klosik, which is our new president. James, why don't you take it away?
Hey everyone, thank you again for coming. Just going to briefly walk through what we're going to cover today. First, we'll talk about the development journey behind Mom Genesis or Mom 13 Genesis and why this release represents an important milestone for the platform itself. From there, we'll highlight what's new in Mom Genesis, including improvements around security, reporting, payments, inventory, and operational workflows. We'll also introduce Freestyle Transact, our modernized payment architecture designed to reduce security exposure and align with evolving compliance standards. After that, we'll preview the new business intelligence dashboard or the BI dashboard, which will provide real time operational insight directly within MOM. And then finally, we'll review the upgrade path for Genesis, share a look of what's coming up, what's next for the platform, and then open things up for questions. Why Genesis? In simply put, Genesis for us represents the next chapter in the long term evolution of the MOM platform. With this release, our focus was strengthening the core foundation of the system, particularly around the payment processing, report visibility, inventory control, and as I mentioned earlier, workflow improvements. This also tied into our broader philosophy around software for life, the Software for Life program. For customers enrolled in Software for Life, access to the future versions of MOM is already included as part of that particular program. So as the platform continues to evolve, those customers can continue benefiting from the latest enhancements in MOM. Now, of course, implementing a new version still involves planning and validation, which is where our professional service team typically assists our customers through that upgrade progress. But at a high level, Genesis reflects our continued commitment to customer centric development, where the evolution of the platform is driven directly by real world operational feedback from businesses using MOM every day.
So as James was mentioning here, the value for software life and customer centric development is evident here. If you were on Mom 12, initially we came released with 50 features, and throughout the life cycle of it, we added an extra 132 features along the way. So the benefits, the feedback that you guys give us, that feedback loop is very helpful in generating new features that helps you guys along the way. And again, enjoy a lot of these benefits right away. It's a shorter time cycle to do that. Going into Mom 13 Genesis is no different. Right now, as we released Mom 13 Genesis, we couldn't release Freestyle Transact right away because it had to be certified. So that was a longer process, as you guys know out there in the industry. Security now is pretty top priority, and certification is pretty tough, and they're more stringent. There is a new certification called S3, which is Mom 12, that we did in Mom 12. We did the same thing for Freestyle Transact. We couldn't release it because of that, so we waited about a couple of months to get that certified. We started working on it early last year, and we got it certified towards late this year. So that's now fully certified. So now we can announce that we have that. But again, the first release of Mom 13 has 77 features, right? Obviously, the highlights there are the payment processing. We have the BI dashboard that we're excited to show you guys. And as like all the other updates that we do, we have a lot of enhancements to existing features and core features of MOM. So that's around inventory, e-commerce integration, and shipping performance. So instead of me going to each of the features that we have, and we'll share some white papers on all the detailed feature list, and we can get that to you guys along with some of the FAQs that we published on our website for Freestyle Transact, and you guys can review I have some PDF that we could share here later on. But for now, I wanted to just group it on sections on what's in Mom Genesis. So under security and risk reduction, obviously we have Freestyle Transact, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. We added more enhanced lot tracking and inventory controls. We have improved, we had more user level permission, role-based controls. That's you guys are familiar with that. Um, we have the automated pre-authorization voiding, and more a lot of these things are really just more to align to PCI workflow, and those are the enhancements we made around that. And overall, this pretty much gives you a stronger compliance and pretty much lowers your operational risk, right? So it's a nice update there for around security. The next one we have is the business intelligence reporting. You might have seen a lot of the emails I've sent last couple of weeks, really kind of teasing what we have here on this. But we have the executive dashboard. We had a couple dashboards before. This has more visibility and graphical representation. A lot of this dashboard that we came up with came from a lot of the feedback I've captured throughout the years and interactions with most of you guys here. We also updated a couple of reports on general activity. We also have the customer performance reports, shipping charge enhancements, again, more tracking, visibility and inventory reports, and more of the gift cards. Goes back to the general activity house segment. If you use a lot of gift card to actually track that more accurately. Again, this just leads to better decisions, faster insights, cleaner financial reporting. On the warehouse side, the themes here are, we have, things that we did on the core, return to original bin lot control, improve auto replenishment logic, bin enhancement report has been updated, high priority visibility in the warehouse teams, improve assembly, disassembly controls, AIM inventory SKU management enhancement. So we have a lot of those core functions on the existing features that is there. On operational efficiency enhancement, so we have pick ticket timestamping now, so you could see when it was printed. Again, this goes back to some of the feedback that we got from some of you guys where wanted to find out, hey, where the bottlenecks are, when is the pick ticket printed, and how long did it take to get it from pick pack eventually shipped. So we do have a module there called advanced order processing that helps you track that, but now the pick ticket also has a timestamp. We have added attribute lookup performance. So that sometimes you had a lot of attributes and it took a little bit to bring up, so we kind of improved that. We have vendor extension visibility on POs. We also have more kind of nice to have or copy pricing levels within the product setup. So if you're flipping products like that, you could easily copy the pricing levels from another product. We also added more order level promo control, security controls. On the communication side, we have the BBC support for invoice emails now. So you could BBC yourself if you need to, so that way you can keep track on all the emails that you're sending out. We had more controls around that. And we also added a high priority notification on packing slips. So there's now a visible indicator that tells you if the packing slip that you printed is high priority. So that way your warehouse team can react accordingly and process that particular order much faster. So again, we're going to be sharing a PDF that has all this listed. So that way, this is not all of it, obviously, but this is some of the highlights that we have. So we'll share that with you guys after the presentation. Freestyle Transact. This is something that we were talking about earlier. This is kind of one of the main things we worked on for 13. And it's really just because, like I said earlier, with the increasing cyber threats, security, credit cards and credit card data that's stored in your system becomes a risk eventually and a liability. While a lot of you guys are probably are tokenized already, which is a good thing, credit card data is still entered in M.O.M and is still technically they're captured initially when you initially enter it. So what we wanted to do here is we wanted to kind of remove that process there where M.O.M doesn't even see the credit card anymore. When you actually see on the M.O.M side is it's just a pop-up from this Freestack Transact payment middleware that we have now that we certified, right? So you can see here, it's been certified actually this year on the 9th, but you can see where we're listed there now. and certified. But the idea there was we don't want mom to be seeing any credit cards at all and eliminate that exposure. So now with this process, you're actually entering, you're getting a pop-up from this Freestyle Transact that you enter the credit card on, and that process is then sent directly to AuthNet to to be tokenized. So now what that gives you is that it eliminates the pan exposure in mom. We never store credit card data, only secure tokens in mom. And then this more aligns to what the new requirements are for the PCI S3. As you guys know, if you guys are under 12, a mom is certified under PADSS, which is no longer supported by the PI Council. It's still good for the pre-existing deployments, but again, it's not fully certified. So you have to have some countermeasure to make sure that there's no exposure on your side, on the application side, also, and also on your environment side. Um, James, did you want to add anything to this?
No, you pretty much covered it. It was that was the brainchild that we had was how to better secure payments within the mom environment with this particular version. But you covered it all.
Here, this is kind of a preview on how it works in MOM, right? So you guys are familiar with this screen, the payment screen. I'll show this live so you guys can see it. But you get a pop, you click the credit card, you get a pop-up. This screen is actually not a mom screen. This is from Freestyle Transact that cover like a hosted kind of form. Once the credit card information is here and you hit process, this gets sent to authorized net directly, and authorized net returns a token. And then once that token is returned, it gets passed to mom. Mom uses the token to complete the transaction, right? So mom only stores the token, never the credit card data. So that's kind of the difference here on the current workflow that you guys have. So no local storage, and only the credit card that we input here is stored momentarily in memory and discarded once this particular form is destroyed. So once you close this form, there's no trace of that credit card existing anywhere in your PC. It's not stored in Transact, it's not stored in MOM, and it's no longer stored in memory. So again, going back to the summarize on why we did this, James kind of covered some of this in the beginning. That this is to modernize our payment processing. This is all built into a newer tech stack, .NET. It does make it mandatory use tokenization. We're no longer going to allow import full pans into MOM. So if you're using an integration with Magento, BigCommerce, or like a flat file import, those no longer supported as far as um, full pan data. So we would have to use tokenized data to import. So if you are importing tokens already, that's fine. We could do that. So what does this really do for your business? Obviously, one of the biggest thing here is that it strengthens compliance. It reduces your PCI scope. So if you guys are doing self-assessments within your environment and application, this really helps with the reduction of scope when you do it. Obviously, the biggest thing here is that lowers breach exposures and protects your customers, right? That's something that you don't want to get into. That's a lot of work, lawyers and fees once you get into that phase. So you want to be proactive and have something like this in front to protect your customer. One added benefit of this is that we refactored a lot of code in MOM so that those calls that used to go to AuthNet to do single and batch processing are actually being done by Freestyle Transact now. So there's performance improvement when you process credit cards within MOM now. And as you saw earlier, the workflow doesn't really change for you guys. Don't The main workflow when you click credit card is that there's a new pop-up where you enter the credit card instead of the existing form within the MOM. So there's no need to retrain the team in a way. So it's pretty much, hey, there's a new pop-up, put the credit card in there and good to go. Next thing before we go to the live demo is I just want to cover like an intro for the business intelligence dashboard and what it is. Again, like you guys saw the emails for this. Basically gives you real-time visibility, gives you some insights, and a lot of actionable intels that you could use throughout the day. And what we did is we actually made it role-based, so that way, the different resources within your company, executive, field manager, CSR manager, or CSR, you guys have your own different views, so that way you can use it to kind of help you with your day-to-day task. Again, so now we have data that's being pulled directly from your database, and there's no assumption there. It's data that you can trust because that's from yours. and it really just reduces your manual analyst time. Instead of you guys running multiple reports, it's right there in front of you. And as you'll see in just a minute, there's, you can drill down into it and find out what the data behind it, what that is. So we're gonna go into live demo. Just give me a second to set up the system. All right. So this is my test system that is MOM 13 that has all the features that we have. And so last order I put in was this. You can actually make that clickable now, but I wanted to make a new order. Let's see. So you can see within this order, I've already previously used credit cards. So I have one here. And then if I click new, this is the pop-up that we saw earlier, right? You could put in credit card that you want to use, and it would just get that authorized authnet, and then this is ready to go get approved. The cool thing about this one is that now we have a table called CC token that kind of handles all the tokens in MOM. So anything that you've used previously will be stored in MOM, obviously. But with this, we actually added another benefit. We actually make a call to authnet saying, hey, does this customer ID or profile have any other tokens or payment tokens existing on that side? And if it does, it'll pull it down for you so you can actually use it. So if they already have it in AuthNet but not in MOM, it'll be showed under the previously listed credit cards, which is nice. So now you get an approval and so on, right? So that's pretty straightforward. Again, once we have a new order for this, then now it's listed here. So that what I was saying earlier is that if I had another profile on AuthNet, it'd be listed here too, and then you can use that card. So and why that's important. One of the things that we're working on after this release is something with BigCommerce where they handle one-time use credit cards. And sometimes they don't have the payment, they don't pass that payment ID. So what we're trying to do is create payment IDs for it. So one of the features that we're working on is to kind of bypass that. So that way we could actually, even if it's a one-time use on the BigCommerce side, we can create profile IDs and payment IDs for it. But again, it'll be listed here. You can choose it. Some of the queries I've had were when I sent the email about Freestyle Transact, and we'll share we'll send a document here as well for the PDF for Freestyle Transact FAQs. But one of the question is, can I reuse the credit cards? The answer is yes, right? This goes back to the same workflow that you guys are already familiar with. So once you have a tokenized credit card, it's in MOM or existing AuthNet, you can reuse that because you've used that successfully. So it'll be listed here. You can select it, and then you can use it again. So then, if you have a recurring subscription or club membership or recurring payment that you want to use credit cards on, that will automatically do it. The other added benefit for this is that on the AuthNet side, there's a feature called automatic credit card updater, I think they call it. And basically what that does is that it will actually, if you opt in for that option in AuthNet, it calls through the card networks and see if that card has a new expiration date or is expired or if the number changed. And if it does, it'll update the payment profile in AuthNet. And again, if it updates in AuthNet, our system will see it. So what that means for you is that, if the credit card expires and they were issued and AuthNet picks it up for you, you don't necessarily have to call that customer anymore, right? It saves you guys a CSR call back because now you have a card that you can charge and then ship the products out to the customer. So that's a really cool feature to have with AuthNet, the automatic updater for the card stuff. So that's Freestyle Transact. Again, nothing to it. The heavy lifting is really on the background. It just provides more security for you as you process more payment transaction through MOM. So next is we're going to go to our business intelligence dashboard, which is a new menu here. So what we did here is, again, we kind of broke it down by role. And what we have here is we needed a way to kind of load this data much faster. So right now, what we did is we did like a 6 months period, and we kind of optimized those queries so that way it loads in a fashionable time, I guess you could call, and that way you don't have to wait that long. But if we wanted to see more data set, we have some, you define here. We can actually change the date and range according to what you want to see. But as an executive here, you get a quick view on, hey, what's my month look like? What's my year look like so far? And then over here, you got your last 6 months, where's my revenue coming from? What's my average order value? How many orders are coming in? Things like that. And you got your different order types right here. And a lot, like one of the things here is, this is only today, but this is the thing that I was talking about where you can drill down what we did today. So now you could see what those orders are, right? And then you can see what's in those orders. And again, this is not a good example, but you could also group this on different things. I like invoice date as a default. That's why we defaulted to it. But you could do it by order types, order source, and customer. So that way you can actually see the groups and see how many orders are in each of those. And then from that, you can break it down and further break it down what item it is. You could see the cost and then the profit for it and the current status for it. So it's a lot of information here that you can digest. And again, the whole purpose is this so that you get, as an executive, you have visibility and information that you can easily digest. And the next role we have is a fulfillment manager. This is if you're running the warehouse, you got to make sure everything's in stock, how you're doing with back orders and things like that. So you could see right away, how many orders were processed and fulfilled versus um, how much the average value for each of those, right? You could see what the status are, where you at on where everything is. Is it picking, packing, how you're doing with it? You can see what order types are coming in for you. You could see this is big for a lot of clients. This is one of the feedbacks I got where they want to see single item orders versus multi-item orders because there's typically a different process for each, right? When you pick and pack and see how that goes. Here this is for, if you wanted to do a different range, you can do different range. You can see your status here. To say you want to do this week or last month, you could do that. And within here, it also gives you, and this requires the advanced order processing. So if you have that module, this will fill in, but it gives you a breakdown on how much it takes to take how much time it takes to stay in this particular status. So you could see this example is not good because of my data, but you could see how long it typically stays at picking or is on hold or when it's created. It gives you a sense of, again, just the whole point to where the bottleneck is in your fulfillment process, right? And you could see how many orders are processed for that date range that you get here. So this gives you quick views on how you're doing fulfillment wise. And then over here, we have all our shipping stats, right? You could see what services you use most and what the profit looks like for those shipping for that month and things like that. Over here, you can see what your fast moving products are. What's your top selling products? It tells you how much you sold, right? How much is left, your low level, and if you have any back orders. So again, it's just more visibility and information for you as a fulfillment manager to help you with your day to day. Over here, we have your inventory and purchasing manager. You could see orders fulfilled versus what's back ordered. You could see the trending products, right? So how your trending products. So you sold most of this, and you could quickly see if you're low on those, right? Because those are going to be your trending products. You want to make sure you take care of that. If you're low on units, these two are almost the same. Then you got to make sure that you have enough lead time to kind of reorder those products and make sure that you could sell those. Over here we have our top 5 suppliers. Your top supplier by PO, number of POs they have, and you can see how they perform if they deliver on time or they typically are on delay. Over here, let me just change this so we put some data in here. This just tells you all your open POs, right? You can see you have 7 open POs and it's valued at this, right? And you can see if any back order, which item was back order, how many back orders and how many on orders you have for it. And it tells you if you have any returns for return items and see what the return codes are for each of those things. Again, reiterate, it's just more visibility for the purchasing manager to have intel on what's going on in his domain. Now, CSR manager, you're managing a group of CSRs. You got to make sure, see what's going on. So first thing we did is, month to date for our team, what the sales are looks like for year to date, and then we could see who's logged in, and then we can also see who our top 20 VIP customers are based on revenue, right? You could see that way if there's a call in the call center and we have to handle certain things, we could see if they're listed in our top 20, and we can treat them accordingly if we need to. Same thing here with who's logged in, so you can see what resources is available, right? And it tells you their name, their role, if they're sales rep or not, if if their warehouse role is their picker and packer. So you can see what's going on. And finally, the CSR. If you're taking phone orders and all, you could see what's going on with on your side. You could see if you have any open quotes where there are. You could see the last 10 customers, last 10 orders that you did, the order types you did, the source key that you did. You could see your month to date for that user and year to date for that particular user and what you're doing. So a CSR, if you're a sales rep, you could see how you're doing yourself if you have any goals set for them like that. The top here is for the telemarketing module. So if you actually use the telemarketing module, you can track how many calls it's taking and any follow-up calls that's scheduled. So this is our first pass of this executive dashboard. And then again, we're still looking for feedback. I have a couple already coming down the pipe. One of the feedback here is for the orders and review to make it clickable, so that way you can click an order and approve it. We're exploring that where we can even have the approve here. We're exploring like if you have this to make this printable, things like that. So, if you guys get used to seeing playing with this on your side, feedback is always valuable and we can always expand on this and make updates to these things too. So those are all welcome and needed for us to kind of improve and help you guys make sure that we kind of address some of the business needs that you guys need. But most of this came from you guys already, but the more the better, right? So if you guys have more feedback, I'll have my email at the end of the slide, the end of the presentation here, and don't be scared to reach out, and I'll make sure that we could make proper tickets for those and then address those down the line. So we're gonna go talk about the upgrade path. So James, you want to take
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the main prerequisite is having the customer information manager and authorize.net enabled. And the second part is having your actual M.O.M application tokenized. And always we need an active support contract to have these features active in your M.O.M system. And for those of you that are familiar with Software for Life, this particular version upgrades are at no cost. The only fee is when you engage with our professional service team to do the upgrade for you. And included in that upgrade is Sandbox, because for every iteration of M.O.M, we strongly advise using a sandbox so that way you could kick the tires. And if you're interested, as Ian mentioned, please contact us. We'll connect you with our professional service team to scope out your current environment and the needs, and we'll take it from there. Anything to add, Ian? Ian, I
So
believe you're muted.
yeah,
There you go.
Jason just told me. One of the things that we're looking to do next with Genesis is BigCommerce, and BigCommerce, from feedback from our client base that using BigCommerce, is the one-time use. BigCommerce forces you to have your customers log in and then save their credit cards in order to send us the payment information, in this case, the tokens. Um, so typically there's a vaulting and there's a token um, middleware that does that, and there's a fee for that. So what we're trying to do is do that within M.O.M. So one of the things we're looking to do is the autosave payment method from one-time token. And there is from our research, there's a way to do that. So that's something we're looking to implement. So when you import one-time use tokens, what we'll do is we're looking to make a call to AuthNet using the transaction ID to create payment profiles and customer payment IDs. And then that way, even if they checked out as a one-time use token on the BigCommerce side, we'll be able to have those pairing so that way you can reuse those cards again in M.O.M. We just covered on the business intelligence side, we just covered, the clickable order numbers, the principal drill down data. Again, like I said, the more feedback we get, the more we can kind of add to that particular dashboard. Um, the other big project we're working on is improving our API. We're looking at, adding more functionality. We're also looking at maybe converting that to a REST API, things like that. So that's in the works. We're also looking to do a one-to-many channel integration, so that way you have one integrations to connect to multiples. Like right now, we're exploring Channel Engine and channel advisor, just really just looking at cost to what makes sense for our client base. But those are what we're kind of looking into at the moment. Nothing is kind of finalized. We're still looking into it, but that would open up other channels for our merchants, obviously. And again, it's just the cost for it. See what makes sense for us. Then right now, I'm in the middle of working on inventory publishing via JSON. The Amazon SP API has updated their create feeds and such to JSON from XML. So we had to make those updates. So we're looking at those updates now and putting them to Genesis. So that's what's coming. Again, like we said earlier, this is the first release. There's about 77 new features there, and every quarter we're going to be adding more. So, if you have any business needs or challenges that you guys have, or any pain points that you think we might be able to help, please express those and see if we could have a feature created or added or enhancement to existing feature added to kind of address those pain points and challenges that you might guys have on the business side. So don't don't hesitate to contact me on those. Be glad to kind of capture those and then whatchamacallit, and then make a ticket and make sure that we can put it back in our feedback loop and eventually put it as part of release for you guys. So we're gonna open it up for questions. So there, you guys already have some questions here. I'm gonna take some.
Yeah,
If you have any more questions, please type it into the Q&A section, and then I'll answer them. So I have one
yeah,
here. Oh, you
we
want
have
to
a
go?
good amount. No, we have a good amount of Transact related questions. Some of them I think you already answered, but
Yeah.
yeah, we could go from the top and take it from there, Ian.
Yeah. So the
So
one
does
you want to read them and answer, or you want to?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
go.
Does Freestyle Transact impact pop?
No, we're still working in Pop. Pop is still going through authorized net. We do have those newer BBPOS system. They came up with a newer one. We're still trying to get the SDK for them. They're still shooting for third Q3, I believe, for this year. So once those are out, then we can update Pop with that.
Next one is does Transact replace authorized.net, which it does not, or is it just the front end to it?
Yeah, so in that one time, it does not replace AuthNet. It's just a front. So think of it like a hosted payment form, similar to what we did with SiteLink, where it just calls the gateway directly.
With Transact, does mom still allow previous credit card numbers to be used for the customer?
Yes, as you
We could
saw
just
there,
reiterate that. Yeah.
yeah, as you saw in the demo, I am able to bring up previously used credit cards as long as they're already tokenized, and they will be able to use that card again.
And I know you mentioned APIs, but got another question around that. Any updates to the API? Looking for customer order related EDI and automation.
Yeah, nothing. There's updates to the APIs for sure, but it's nothing around the EDI side. So, John, if you could just send me an email on exactly what you're looking for, I can get a ticket around that and see what we could do for you.
The next one is, are there any changes to the POS system, Apple and Google Pay?
Right now, no, but we are going to be supporting Apple Pay and Google Pay through the SiteLink Genesis. Um, so, Jason, if you want to say anything about that and what that looks like, but that's going to be coming down for SiteLink, I believe, right?
Well, Jason jumps on. The next one is, when is mom adding tracking to the invoices?
What do you mean by that, Rachel? If you could just clarify what you mean by tracking on invoices. Is that tracking numbers or is that track? Just if you can elaborate on that, we could give you more of an accurate answer for that one.
Well, this webinar is going to be it's recorded, and once this is more for Rickson, once it's available, we'll post it on YouTube, right? Ian?
Yeah, so well, I'm gonna digest this and clean it up, but then yeah, we're gonna post it on YouTube. You should be getting, since you guys are attended, you should be getting a follow-up email regarding the attendance, and then on that attendance email, you get a link to the YouTube video.
This one from Erica. How does this new update compare to NetSuite?
It's pretty broad question. I think if you could break that down, Erica, as far as what part exactly? I mean, NetSuite is typically more of a higher end, more costly solution for compared to us. But if you're speaking to a particular functionality, please elaborate on that, and we can give you an answer around that. There's a question regarding the upgrade. If you're Mom 10 going to Mom 12, not a no something that we haven't really no issues with. What we do is we step you through the different version, Eli, and we would go from 10 to 11 to 12, then 13 in this case. And that's typically not a problem. So that's not painful at all. The only thing is the data set that you have. I don't know how big that is. That might just be the time consuming part. What we typically do and suggest, and James's team typically does this on the implementation side, is we do a sandbox so we can have a test conversion so we can log and know all the different issues or challenges that might come arise during the conversion. And that way, when you do a live conversion, we already know what to expect based on your data set. And that should go smoothly. Again, it's not painful at all to do that upgrade. All right,
Something
cool.
came up that we discussed in the past. Are the graphs, charts, and other data available on the BI downloadable to Excel and PDF?
At the moment, no, but that's something we'll consider down the line. That'd be because we do have a printable. We were looking at the printable option for the drill downs. So that might be once we have that print there, you can probably export it to Excel because a lot of our print menu options and within the MOM system allows you to export to Excel. So we'll probably do something like that. We have to think about how we can export the charts as the downloadable. But the other thing point out on the business dashboard is it's its own window, right? So you can have the mom system open and the window for the dashboard on a different screen or a small, different screen and have the mom on the other screen. So that way you could actually see mom and your dashboard. That's how we meant it to be used. So you're able to see it in one screen and the other. So you don't have to actually close the dashboard to continue using mom. That makes sense.
Cindy has a question. Is there a feature to see when a product was delivered?
There's a report. There's a inventory transaction report, so you could actually see when a product is delivered. And then that's not a new feature that's been there.
Speaking of features, another question. Is there a feature to lock down RMA processing? I want everyone to be able to create RMA, but only select people to have authority to process.
I believe I don't know who this is because it's anonymous, but I believe there was a ticket already created for this. So that's something down the pipeline that we have considered already. But I remember creating a development ticket for this request, but not currently available, but something we can definitely work on in the future.
Will MOM 13 require a new version of the MOM API?
Yes, if you're using the MOM API, yes. That's something that we have. We're going to have a MOM API 13 that you could use. If so, you have any integration leveraging the API that will need to get updated to the MOM 13 API.
I think when you mentioned the BigCommerce, what we're working on for BigCommerce for the vaulting, I think it perked up a couple of ears. We have a couple questions around that. When do you expect the BigCommerce update for Mom Genesis handling one-time use tokens to be ready?
Yeah, we're shooting for maybe second half of the year, probably. We're finishing up a couple of things for Amazon this quarter and then probably onto that next. But either next quarter or the following quarter would be realistic estimate for that one.
Does the new upgrade allow API calls from FedEx, UPS for actual shipping charges?
No, we don't make calls to UPS or FedEx. So no.
See, because the questions are coming in. See if I missed anything. Tracking does not import from Mom to Shopify. We currently need to manually do it. Is this resolved?
That's if it's an issue, yes, that should handle it because that's part of the feature set for Shopify. We might just have to follow up with the support rep or team that's handling that ticket to see what's going on. But that feature I haven't heard on the development side as far as if that's not working.
Another one. Can the process update to inventory be automated?
It can be via the API if you want to do it that way. There is an API call to do process updates to inventory. It depends on why you're doing that. So we would have to have some context on why you need that process automated, and then the possibilities there. You would have to leverage the API to do that.
Next one is, can I get access to the sandbox version so I can see if it's changing? It's a good choice for us. Yes, we could connect you with our professional service team to scope out your current environment, and then we could take it from there.
There's a question regarding the business Intel dashboard. It's not a separate install. It's part of MOM 13 install. So once you have 13, I'll show up. It does have a couple of components that's built into the new workstation install, Justin. So once you install the workstation 13 and the new exe, then it'll load that for you automatically.
Are there any changes to the club membership plan?
No, no, there's a question about Shopify here. Yeah, Shopify is a module, um, Rickson, that we sell. So that if you are you using Shopify not as a direct feed, maybe? If you are, then maybe that's why the shipping tracking information is not being sent back. You're doing that manually. The Shopify integration does support the download of orders, the publishing of product and inventory, and along with the shipping information back to Shopify. We've done a lot of enhancements to Shopify actually on this release based on client feedback. So a lot of I think there's 4 or 5 different feature enhancement for Shopify specifically on this release to handle certain things. Again, just based on client feedback. There's clients that are using Shopify, but if you are not on that plugin or module, we call it, you might start looking into that. That will kind of help you automate some of the stuff that you're doing manually.
Question came up around, are there any improvements to the order promotions?
No, it's more of a security run or promotion, but there's no, if you're looking for new order promotions that are new different types, no. If you're looking for a particular order promo that you want to add, please, reach out to me, Ian.o@freestylesolutions.com, and describe what you're looking for, see if we have that, and then we see possibly make that a feature down the line.
Another question from Julie. The description bar only allows around 50 characters. Can this be expanded?
Where's this, Julie? Can you elaborate on where this description is? Is this on the stock? Is it on the order? Is it? I guess I'm guessing the stock. I think it's 60, but yeah, if you can elaborate on which one, we could see if that could be done.
It's in the product name. Ian.
Hmm. Okay, so then is that the product name of the stock description, like the description 1 and description 2 fields? And if that's the case, so I'll bring that back to development and see what we could expand that. But I think it's just a form thing we would have to adjust. Can you just input, Julie, what the character length you're looking for to extend it to? Typically, there's a description which typically fits within that, but and then if you want like a full description, there's a different typically for e-commerce or websites, there's a full description where you can have a lot more characters than 50. So it's just depending on how you're using that, and if you really just have really long description or product names. But yeah, if you could just expand on how much to expand it on and see what we could do that or not.
One more questions are coming in. Ian, you want to review the latest one?
Yeah, still a little. Julia, thank you for providing the information. Can you, again, send me a screenshot of this just to make sure that we're on the same page on this?
I think we could connect with Julie offline to get more details.
Yeah, I answered her with my email address
Yeah.
on that particular one, so she can reach out. I think that was it. I don't see anything else, James. You?
I will give it a minute
Okay.
to give folks an opportunity to raise additional questions. All right. Let's see. One came in. Part numbers are limited to 20 characters. Any thoughts on making it longer? From
Not
Fred.
at the moment. Fred, do you know how long the characters you've been needing? Because there's typically a lot of people use the alt number as well, or the UPC for the ultimate. But typically it's no longer 20, but we could expand it, but we haven't had really requests to do it. So but if you have a use case that is resonate for other business merchants as well, that's something we can consider.
Another question came up. Is there a way to consolidate back orders that are on different orders?
No, I think there was another question related to that that we answered, but that's something that's been requested. We haven't gotten to that particular request, but that is on our development backlog. So that's something we're going to consider down the line. When we initially scoped that, that was a pretty big task to do so. So we're trying to see where we can slot that properly. Um, there's different approaches to it. So I haven't really completed all the PRDs for that as far as the requirements that we can create that to address this particular request. But there has been requests for consolidating different orders. So that way it's only going out one shipment. Yeah, dude, Universal Shipping Interface, the USI. So there's a question regarding USIs in MOM and what does 13 have? I mean, USI is still supported in 13, but we're heavily into Shippo. So one of the biggest updates that we have in 13 is shipping performance. So we really kind of refactored the codes for Shippo to kind of perform better there. So instead of using USI, which is a third party where you had to actually export data, or in this case, we have a shared table, and then that table is read from third party to produce the labels, and you have to import the track numbers back into MOM. We would recommend using Shippo in this case, so that way that workflow would be much streamlined, where the tracking numbers automatically generated by the Shippo. We use the Shippo API to call and generate the labels, and at the same time, when they generate the label, tracking numbers right there as well. So um, I would look into the Shippo integration instead of the USI. USI was good because it handled some of the international stuff, but since Shippo already has international support, I don't think, I mean, you can still use it. A lot of merchants like to use it because their warehouse and fulfillment teams are used to the process and workflow of a USI, like Indicia or Harveysoft. But again, there's a better workflow. It's just that sometimes the existing workflow that exists in the warehouse is embedded to the workflow that your team likes. So that's why a lot of people stay with USI, not necessarily because it's the most streamlined. It's just they're familiar with the process. But again, if it was up to me, I would definitely recommend Shippo.
A couple more questions are rolling in. Julie asks, will there be a feature to drop ship on the fly?
Uh, I don't know. What Julie could make that request. Same thing on the email. That way I can make a ticket for that, but I don't have a ticket for that at the moment. And there's a question here for modernization of the interface. That's something that we're starting to look into. One of the things we're kind of looking into now, again, this is kind of a long-term kind of goal, but it's nothing in the near future or anything like that. But if we're looking to modernize the API first, and once that's modernized to a REST, we're looking to kind of build some of the day-to-day stuff like front end stuff where you can place orders, look up customers, look up stock items, things like that. Nothing with the heavy processing that mom does on the fulfillment side, but more for like your CSR or just simple kind of tasks where it's not processing intensive. So that's something we're looking into down the future, but nothing in the near future for that. But that's something we're thinking about for sure.
A couple more questions are coming in. I know that we're past the hour, but let's see if we could get a couple more questions, Ian, answered.
Some of the questions I'm just answering directly is very unique to that thing. So I'm going to answer that. Yeah, so there's a question here regarding Shippo used for FedEx. Again, FedEx actually just came out with a lot of updates and requirements on their labels, and Shippo had to propagate those changes to us. So we had to actually make updates to that as well. So again, those work fine with us now with the latest release. Um, so I don't know exactly, Erica, on your side, what the trouble or the incompatible workflow that you guys had. So maybe that's something our support team can help with, kind of understand that. They can even pull me in and have that conversation just to kind of oversee where the hiccup is between the workflow. Because the workflow for UPS and FedEx and Shippo is the same thing for us. So I don't know what you were using to before Shippo, I guess. Are you using USI? Are you using directly the FedEx ship manager server? But the workflow is pretty much the same. So if we get more information, that's I think the recommendation would be to kind of work with our support rep, and then they can reach out to one of our development team, including myself, to kind of understand where that is and see if we could resolve that or give a proper recommendation. Yeah, so there's a question here regarding Tap, Apple Pay, and Pop. Yeah, that's a challenge for us only because we're limited to AuthNet at the moment, and they certify certain devices. So we're trying to push our partners over there to give us the proper devices or give us more choices for devices that's certified that we can use. Right now, we only have one. Justin, I have to look into that particular BBPOS if that actually supports that. It does have the tap. I know that, but I don't know if for Apple Pay. But that has the tab. So that's something once their SDK comes out on Q3 this year, we can start looking into. So there's a question here
Another,
regarding the tracking number on the packing slip. Typically, a tracking number does print on the packing slip. If you have different ship twos for each item, it prints on the bottom part. Or if you have multiple boxes, then it prints one. But if you need the packing slip to actually print tracking numbers, if it's not there, we can certainly look into customizing forms. So there's a feature within M.O.M where you can customize form, packing slip, and invoice, and we can certainly add a variable. There's already a variable for tracking numbers, so you can add that variable in your particular form. So if you're interested in that, reach out to PS or the support to start that process. Tracking. As far as there's a question about ETA on REST API. That's something that's still in the works and development, so I don't have a good timeline for that yet to share. But once I do, make sure we'll make some noise around that because that's going to be pretty big. I think that was the last one, James. Do you have anything else that you see?
I think that's it. I think you covered it. Yeah,
Mhm.
REST API was the last.
Sounds good. So to close out the presentation here, the webinar, we have our info@freestylesolutions.com email here. So if you guys, saw like what you guys saw today and what we're doing with 13 and moving forward, again, more feedback so we can get more of the stuff that you guys want into M.O.M, let us know. Reach out to info@freestyle solutions so you can get your upgrade started. James, you want to close it off?
Again, thank you everyone for taking the time with us through this demo. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us directly or at info@freestylesolutions.com. But thank you again and have a great day.
All right, thanks, guys.